Hey guys, welcome to the jungle. We are training for the South Thailand Motocross Championship, and I'm going to talk a little bit in this video about what the fast line on the track looks like and how you determine the fast line, and how the fast line changes over time when the track deteriorates and starts developing bumps. So there's three things that determine how fast the line is. And the number one is the steepness of the turns or the berms or the ruts or whatever you're riding in the turns, something that you can bank on to carry your speed. That's number one. The next one is smoothness. It means you want to pick the smoothest line to the berm. If there's deep holes and like just half a foot or 1 foot away there's no holes, then you pick the smoothest line coming into the turn, also exiting the turn if possible. So the second factor is smoothness, how smooth the track is. And then the last factor, surprisingly I would say, is the distance traveled. So you're not trying to always go for the shortest distance necessarily, because that might not be the one that can carry the most speed. So let's do some drawing here just to be very exact. So approaching the turn, you want to aim to approach the turn in a straight line, aiming exactly to enter at the steepest part of the berm. Okay, so if you're coming from a turn that's somewhere around up here, you're probably going to be approaching in exactly a straight line, coming into that steepest part of the berm. And that may not be the highest part of the berm or the lowest, but somewhere in between. Usually it's slightly higher, a higher part of the berm. Okay, and then you want to try to ride the steepest part of the berm throughout the whole turn, and then getting on the gas. And then from the exit of the turn, you're gonna be already looking at exactly entering the next turn. As you're exiting here, you're already looking at exactly entering at the very steepest part and the very outside of the next berm. So you're going to be going, in this case, you're going to be going in a straight line across the track over here, so you can carry your speed into this berm. And you're going to ride the steepest part again through the turn here. And then you're going to be going for the next turn, and where there's the most support in the next turn. So this is the concept, okay? You're always looking to enter where there's most support available to carry your speed on the turn, and that's where it's steepest. We're gonna make a drawing about that later. I'm gonna delete this drawing, but before I delete it, now I'm gonna give you a good analogy to understand what line to choose in a turn. And the analogy is, imagine you're standing, you can choose somewhere to stand here in front of the turn at the entrance area. Imagine you're holding a bowling ball in your hand, and you're trying to throw or roll that bowling ball into the turn. What line would you have to throw that bowling ball on, like on a straight line entering the turn, in order to make it possible to carry the most speed through the turn without rolling out over the track? That's going to be the same line as you would want to ride on a dirt bike. So you can try to imagine if you roll it in exactly following on the outside here on the steep part, the bowling ball might be able to carry all its speed without rolling over the turn, rolling through the berm and coming out on the outside. Where you can imagine, if you're just coming in, as I see some of the beginners on this track, if you just come in like randomly into the turn, you're gonna have an impact on the berm, so to speak, here. And it feels like the bike just want to ride over the berm. And you will find that if you just adjust your path and your entry line to enter on the very outside, it's almost as if the turn allows you to, or assists you to carry that speed through the turn. Okay, and now let's talk about when the track deteriorates. So sometimes, oh no, not sometimes, always, the fast line will start to deteriorate when you have many fast riders hitting the same line again and again. it will start to develop bumps, like braking bumps on the entry of the corner, and then acceleration bumps on the exit, and also develop ruts that carve into the berm. And when that happens, at some point, it's going to be faster to choose a line that's slightly higher on the berm or slightly lower, depending on the individual turn. And then you got alternative line choices. In some cases, as you probably know, it's also can be faster to take the inside rut here and take the inside again over here. And some people ask, is it faster to take the inside or the outside? And as usual in motocross, the answer is it depends. And that's because it depends on the condition of the rut, how deep it is and how smooth it is, if it has any hooks in it or bumps or stuff like that. And it also kind of depends on how short the distance is actually. But it's mainly about the track condition, okay? So that's the fun part of motocross, that there are so many line choices. And then you got the slowest line choice, which is the sweeper. If you're just gonna ride the center of the track, then you're gonna ride usually on a flat area. And that will be a sweeper turn, and that's the slowest type of turn you have, because there's no support. And now we're gonna delete this picture, and then we're gonna draw a berm seen from the side, like cut through the berm. And then we're gonna talk about the angles of the motorcycle and the steepness of the berm, because there has been a lot of confusion about this. I've seen many riders being confused about this, so let's do that. Okay, so this right here is the shape of the berm, and you can imagine it's like the track is cut through here. So the higher you drive up on the berm, the steeper it is, right? But you don't want to drive all the way up here, because then your wheel at some point on a bad day is going to slip over and fall out. So actually how high you ride on the berm is depending on how fast you go, in other words, your skill level. So basically, you just want to ride at a position of the berm where your bike, I think the word is called perpendicular, where it's pushing straight in, like on a right angle into the berm, right? So that means if you're a beginner, you have plenty of support to ride the turns safely. If you're like riding here, for example, like just halfway up on the berm. If you're not leaning the bike any further down, you can just ride here, because then the bike is pushing straight down into the berm and creates good traction. So if you imagine, if this same rider, he was riding high on the berm up here, then the bike angle would not be perpendicular up here, right? So actually the bike would want to slide downwards on the berm. If we take, now we're going to delete this one. Okay, let's draw a professional rider that's almost leaning the bike down to horizontal, okay? So he's perpendicular to the berm here, and the force, the G forces that's pushing out here, is pushing straight into the berm, creating amazing traction, or perfect traction, right? If we draw the same rider riding low on the berm, now we're going to draw the same angle here of the bike. Then you can imagine with a whole lot of G-forces coming into the berm like this way, the bike would want to slip this way, like slip up on the berm, right, and crash. Your speed has to be matched with leaning angle, and that depends on riding skill and experience. And the track will deteriorate, so later on this line will be messed up. Then you're gonna pick either this line or this line. So that's the interesting thing of motocross. And to talk about ruts, basically the same thing applies for ruts. But since a rut is usually like more like a straight down wall, and then it has kind of like a U shape at the bottom, you just got a whole lot of support here in a rut. So a rut is basically like a deep berm, small berm, but with like a very steep wall. And you just want to try to ride towards the bottom of. Because it's already fully steep in a rut, you already have like ultimate steepness or like vertical steepness all the way down here, so there's no reason of going higher in a rut. It just increases the risk of riding the bike out of the rut. Okay? So I hope you guys enjoyed this little talk about what the fast line looks like and how high to ride on the berms and the ruts. And I hope it will make you more familiar with looking for this steepness. When you come out to a track, it's easier to spot the fast line. When you look into a turn, you want to look at entering the steepest part from the very outside. And then when you exit a turn, you already want to look at the next turn, or imagine where is the next turn and where is the steepest part of the next turn. And then you're going to head straight for that part of the turn. As soon as you exit one turn, you're going to head in a straight line to enter that next turn where it's steepest. That's the general rule. Okay? So thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe if you like these kinds of videos, and see you on the next one.